Welcome to the Annoyed Adult Podcast. My name is Howard Cam, and today we're going to be answering more questions from teachers about students, about education, about behaviors, and whatever they want. And so if you have a question that you've submitted recently on Reddit, you might find this question here on the show. Who knows? So why don't we just get to it with our very first question by Misael91. And Misael91's question is subbing worth it? And they write, so Misael91 says, I'm in the process of trying to get into this and trying to get it out, still in the early stages. I do work full-time at a group home, but I'm willing to go part-time if it comes to it, or completely quit if subbing is more financially stable. That's what I'm worried about, not necessarily the pay. In California, it's between $48,000 to $51,000 a year. But how consistent will my hours, work days be? Will there be days I won't be able to work, or will there be always spots open? Yeah, subbing is kind of one of those things where if there's a job available, then you can take the job. But you have to remember, and I'm not sure how it works in California, but here in the state of Hawaii, we have a system called thesis. And so you would have to see the opening job listings and then say, yes, I accept. But you're also in competition with other substitutes who probably want to take jobs too. So I would, you want to constantly keep that feed open and see if there's a spot available. And then you have to see where the school is. Like, it could be a school 20, 30 miles out of your way, or it could be a school next door, right? So you want to be sure that when you sub, you want to get into a school that's close by. And then you could also maybe contact the schools. Like, see, some schools have something called a preferred sub list. And so what a preferred sub list is that schools will contact these substitute teachers first before they farm out the job other places. It is because that those teachers are reliable. They know the campus. They reviewed well by students and by other teachers, and they're ready to work. They're ready to work close by the system. So you're telling me $48,000 to $51,000 a year in California. That's that's kind of not really a survivable income. I mean, subbing is something you do for part-time work. That'd be great. And if you want to keep your group home job, I don't know how much you make at your group home job. Like, will it be worth it? Like, what if you have a conflict? What if there's a sub shortage and then you need to immediately be a substitute? Are you going to be able to do that because, you have your group home job? Yeah, I don't know. Will there be days you won't be able to work? Yeah, there's going to be days you can just say, I don't want to work these particular days. Well, will there always be spots open? Yeah, there's always going to be spots open. But again, like I said, you're competing with other teachers as well, or other substitute teachers. So, good luck. Being a substitute is great. Maybe you transition from being a substitute to a full-time teacher by taking college courses and getting your teaching license. Okay, Space 3IE says, burnout already. This person says, year 2, and I'm already feeling seriously burnt out. I thought maybe the environment was the issue, so I changed that. Still feel burnt out. I'm still waking up with a huge feeling of dread, and it's taking a huge toll on my mental health. I'm talking med changes and possible inpatient. I don't know if I should stick it out or pivot elsewhere, or if this gets easier as time goes on. And if I should pivot, I have no idea what to do with my degree. Okay, Space 3IE, listen, man, you're in year 2 of your teaching program. Why don't you grow a set and get a little tougher and stop thinking about how bad it is? What is causing the issue of burnout? Is it because the kids don't listen to you? Is it because you don't have a plan when you walk through that door in the morning? Is it because your lessons are terrible? What is it? So I think what may have happened is, like, you were in college and then you just sat through these college courses thinking, oh my God, teaching is going to be wonderful. And then they probably put you into this co-teaching environment where you had to shadow a teacher and you thought, I could do this. And then finally you're here in the real world and it's punching you in the face. Yeah, you know what? You get out. Just get out. If you're in year 2 and you can't handle teaching, you really think you're going to make it another 2 years? Be honest with yourself. You really think you're going to make it 2 more years as a teacher, and in the second year you're feeling burnout? Or are you just a wuss and you can't handle it anymore? Teaching is not for everybody. I have to admit, teaching is not for everybody, but you got to be a little mentally tougher with these things. You got to feel like you want to make change and do a good job. And now you talk about taking medication and then doing like whatever inpatient. I don't know what you wrote here. You wrote possible inpatient. I don't know. Do you have to go and take meds to be a teacher? So you basically want to be a stoner teacher because you can't handle being a teacher. Jesus. You talk about pivoting. You want to pivot somewhere else, but you don't know what to do with your degree. I don't know. Go pivot to McDonald's and let's see if that's going to be better for you because you clearly can't handle children. So maybe you can handle, I don't know, flipping a burger over on a griddle. That might be better for you instead of teaching. Yeah. Why don't you try that? Okay. I'm glad I was helpful. All right. Our next question is by Maleficent Sky 6982. And they write a serious question. How can teachers remember the whole school kids' names? Like how? So, all right. What do you mean? Like, wait, I don't understand. So you're saying, how do teachers remember all the kids' names like throughout the years? The answer is we don't. We remember obviously the year we're teaching and, maybe like a couple more years after that because, we take attendance and we call kids and we assign them work and all that too. But like if we're talking like what? I don't know, 5, 10 years down the road, probably not. It's like just it just happens. You just don't remember some kids. And in fact, I've gone to restaurants and some kids go, Mr. Cam, do you remember me? I'm like, nope. I don't remember. I don't remember you. But I do remember kids that when I first started teaching, I still remember them. And that was like nearly 10 years ago. And the reason I remember them is because they did things that are memorable. They did things that were helpful. They were pleasant to be around. They were good conversationalists. So if you're a student asking how do teachers remember other kids' names years down the road, then the answer is just be a good and memorable student, right? Be someone that is easy to remember because you've done something well. I would also say it's very easy for a bad kid to also be remembered, but those are for obviously different reasons. But as teachers, we tend to remember who these kids are. When we look at their face, we may remember them, but typically no, we don't remember every single kid through every single year, 10, 15 years down the road. It's like me asking you. It's like, do you remember the person you talked to for a year 10 years ago? Probably not, right? You don't remember their name, but if you saw their face, you'd probably remember them. So yeah, we don't memorize those kids for those long terms unless you're a really good kid and you did something that was memorable. All right, this question is by The Fix Is In, and this is actually a very interesting question. Do teachers do anything about self-harm scars? Nothing fresh, all at least 3 months old. I'm mainly asking if they would tell my parents. So you're probably a kid and you're saying like you practice self-harm. All right. Yeah, it's kind of a deep one, right? I've had a kid who would have these horizontal cuts across her thigh. And then she would, some looked fairly recent, some looked old. And I would just report it. I would quietly, observe and then report that to the counselors. I'd report it to admin. We are not social workers. But we're always put in this responsibility or this position of saying like, well, you're a teacher, so you should be part social worker. And that's kind of odd, right? You're asking us to do all this other extra responsibility that we're not trained for. We're not trained social workers. We're not trained psychologists. We're not trained criminologists. But if I see a kid with some cuts and scars that look like cuts, the first thing I do is report it and document it. That's pretty much it. So your question is, do teachers report or do teachers do anything about self-harm scars? That's what we do. We report it. We're not counselors. You have other things going on with you that makes you want to harm yourself. And that is stuff that you gotta work out with your, not to sound like a dick, but hey, I'm not your social worker. I'm not your psychologist. That's just something you have to work out with your counselor, with your parents, with whoever. Whatever's causing you to do that behavior, that's something you got to work out. I know. It's like, "Oh my god, you're not helping me." Well, I'm telling you, man, you gotta do what you gotta do. Life's a little rough for a lot of people, and if you think the best method is to cut yourself, then I'm telling you, man, just straight up, don't do that. Go find other things that you need to do, to help with that situation that's positive and not negative. Go talk to your counselors. It's clear. It's clear that you need someone to talk to. Go talk to them, and they can help you out with that. All right? Good luck. All right, this one's by Away Me Through Four, and they say school-wide discipline question. So, are there any schools that you have worked for or know of that have actively done away with PBIS or PBIS style systems? If so, what changes were made and what outcomes have you seen? And so, for those that don't know, PBIS is this positive behavioral intervention system, and I fucking hate it. That is my personal belief. I fucking hate it. And this PBIS system was first invented years ago, and it's like, oh, we should, talk nice to these kids because you're troubled or whatever. And then if you've ever gone online and then you saw these stupid memes where like, hey, a teacher sends a kid to the office and the kid comes back with a soda and a bag of chips, that's basically the PBIS system in a nutshell. Sit down with them, counsel them, talk to them, listen to them, and all that. You're basically taking a real bad kid and you're trying to soft talk them and you're trying to show them love and affection. And I got to tell you, yeah, PBIS doesn't work well in our school, in our high school. That is my opinion. And clearly this user Away Me Through Four wrote this question is because their PBIS system is probably failing too. Imagine if you're the teacher for a moment and a kid takes a desk and throws it at you, then the security or whatever grabs the kid and you're like, what the fuck is going on? And then the kid comes back like 30 minutes later into your class with a chips and a soda, like a reward. How would you feel as a teacher? Just straight up. How would you feel as a teacher? Yeah, I bet you feel like shit, right? That's pretty much basically where this whole PBIS nonsense system is going with this. And I work in a school where the PBI system is not as implemented as hard as it used to be, and I think it's a little better. We do have a lot of problems with our incoming freshmen, but it seems to taper off toward their senior year and based on our data. But if you have a school right now and you're actively doing away with your PBI system, then great. I'm happy for you. Like I remember talking to one of the old security guards that were at our school and the old teachers, and they said, we used to give legit detention, man. You used to have to pick up garbage and wipe tables and sweep. And we have an outdoor football field, like most high schools, and the kids would have to sweep one end of the bleachers to the other. That is something that we had to those kids had to do. I remember when I was in elementary school and I was being stupid for something. I don't remember what it was. Pick something. That's exactly what I did wrong. But I remember scrubbing the wall with a brush and a bucket of water, scrubbing the wall and making sure the wall was clean. That was my entire detention. That was my entire thing. I remember being stuck in a cafeteria after school for an hour straight because I was late for school one time, and I was in high school. And that detention basically stuck with me. I didn't do those bad things anymore, and that's something I think we should return back to. Is this actual legitimate punishment detention? Why are we stop doing that in the first place? I never understood why we stopped doing that because somebody said, "Oh my God, these kids are being talked to too roughly." Well, shit, man, they did something bad. How do you gotta just crack down? Like maybe get the first one. The first one should be like, "Hey, knock it off. Don't do that." The second one should be like, "All right, now we got some punishment going on. Let's return back to that, please." Okay, Kitchen Onion 2143 says, "Are other professionals as emotionally involved as teachers?" And they go on to say, "I have friends working corporate jobs, dealing with very difficult situations and clients, making triple my salary, and yet I don't ever hear them worry about their clients or jobs as we do. They don't get abused at work the way we do. If their bosses yell at them, it has to be a major fuck up. None of my friends have been accused of being this or that. When I tell them what my day looks like, they don't believe me. And yet we are the one who gets the most abuse. Apparently, we are the ones who care the most. Why is that?" All right, Kitchen Onion 2143. Look, I don't know what school you're at, but what are you really getting yelled at all the time? Or are you just making up stories? Like I don't get yelled at all at at the school I work at. Like I guess I'm in a good spot. Like my administration is very supportive. My admin enjoys what I do. I do my job. I yell at the kids appropriately as needed, but I do my job. I do my job. I do my lessons. I mean, they say, oh, are you mad because you're making triple your salary? Is that what it really is? Because your first couple of sentences says you have friends working corporate jobs making triple salary and you don't hear them complain. I think what you're really saying is you feel fucked. You feel fucked that you didn't make the same salary as your friends. And guess what? I bet your friends also get shit on, but they don't complain about it to you. That's what I believe. I believe they don't complain of what they are being yelled at for to you. I don't know. What was this? A song lyric says the grass is always greener where you water it. Have you heard that before? The grass is always greener where you water it. You think somewhere else their job is better because they make more money than you and their clients don't shit on them. I guarantee you that they get shit on and grief from their clients all the time, but they don't tell you about it. They probably have bosses that probably give them grief too, and they don't tell you about it. But you're the only one that's probably complaining about all this. I don't know. Are you in a shitty school? Maybe go ahead and change schools. Why don't you switch places from that last thing I just read about Space 3's like year 2 program? Maybe you're in a terrible school. Go ahead and change schools. Or why don't you do me a favor and quit teaching and then go work this corporate job that you think your friends are not getting yelled at and making triple your salary. Go do that. Okay? Just go do that instead. Because I'm going to tell you, like I told the last person, that this teaching profession is a powerful organization where we're in charge of shaping people's lives by giving them the appropriate amount of knowledge that they need to move forward. We are doing our very best, and sometimes we have to give them a little nudge and a push along the way. But if you feel like you can't handle, then leave, man. Just get out. I think our job is hard. I think our job is quite difficult. But you have to just kind of dig deep and get through this thing. You can't just sit there and be like, oh my God, my friends are making more money and they don't get yelled at, but I get yelled at. It's maybe because you're a shitty teacher. You ever thought about that? Maybe you suck. Maybe you suck and your administration knows it and they're challenging you. Or tell you what, if you want to be super creative about it, then why don't you go talk to your administration and figure out what you can do better? Or maybe you have a cohort of other teachers that you work with and ask them like, hey, how have you made it this far in life? How have you made it 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years in your teaching career without quitting, without breaking? You might want to ask them, and maybe they're going to give you some really good advice of how to do that, right? That's something that you probably want to go ahead and absorb as information. Don't just think like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. My administration hates me and, everyone's yelling at me all the time. Come on. Well, all right. That's the end of our show today. I want to thank you very much for listening. And if you like our show, go ahead and subscribe to the show and add that to your favorite podcast feed. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube Music, wherever podcasts are found, we're there. Have a great day. Take care.